Let's take a quick look at the 4 images on the screen. Now at first, you might be tempted to believe that these systems have absolutely nothing in common. However, they're actually quite similar. These are only 4 of a number of examples of systems that are essentially a mixture of really tiny particles called colloids dispersed in a background medium such as water. Now these particles can either be tiny oil droplets like in milk or even solid particles like in clay. The colloidal particles themselves are typically 100 times smaller than the thickness of the human hair, and because of the small size, it can take more than 100 years to even sink a depth of just 1 foot in some extreme cases. Now this simple fact can have a tremendous impact on a number of these systems. Take milk for example. You leave it in the fridge for a week and nothing really happens, right? But you leave it for a month and these oil droplets start coming together and the milk starts to curdle. Now if you happen to love cheese as much as I do, you probably wouldn't want to wait a month for these oil droplets to come together, right? Similarly, you wouldn't want to wait months or even years for the muddy water from Goleta Beach to settle down before you can actually drink it. And so water treatment plants like the one here in Goleta add a little something known as a flocculant to speeden things up. Adding a couple drops of lime juice has the same effect on milk, by the way. So now, while it seems pretty straightforward to crash particles in these small systems, things start to get out of hand pretty quickly when it comes to dealing with massive volumes of these colloidal mixtures. Yeah, I'm talking about oil spills or even the huge water bodies called tailings ponds that are essentially used to store the toxic colloidal sludge that is a byproduct of the mining and petroleum industries. As you can now imagine, these toxic particles can stay stably suspended for hundreds of years and can pose a major environmental threat unless there was a way to bring these particles together, form bigger chunks like these that could then be easily removed. And that is exactly where my research comes in. With the help of suitably engineered chemical beacons or tractor beams, as shown by the red circles in these videos, we can drive colloidal migration over a millimeter length scale, which is hundreds of times further than what is currently possible, causing particles to come together much more quickly. Not only that, we can design our beacons such that they attract some particles but repel others and therefore separate them from a mixture. So say for example, you accidentally dropped some mud into your milk or vice versa. Now instead of crying over spilt milk, we can use our beacons instead to potentially collect the oil droplets, remove the silt particles, and still make dirt-free cheese. So I hope I've convinced you that with our system, we can not only accelerate particle agglomeration in small systems such as milk and water treatment, but we can really start to think about more efficient management of much larger problems such as oil spills and tailings ponds. Thank you for your time.